In this video, we're going to be talking about what the heck an A-plus model, an A-plus trade, or strategy actually is. In addition, how do we know the difference between something that's A-plus and a B-minus? We're going to be going over the characteristics that I look for in my own personal trading models, the breaker and the inversion, so that you have an understanding what the criteria of an A-plus setup actually looks like. And by the end of the video, you're going to be able to put together and pull out all the different characteristics that you should be looking for when you're putting together your own personal A-plus trade or A-plus model. Now, this clip is coming from my live stream that I do 5 days a week starting at 9:15 a.m. every single day, and it's absolutely free. Would love for you to join us. We drop all kinds of good nuggets. We also do all my live trades and my daily trading bias on that live stream. 5 days a week. Would love to have you. I'll put the information down in the description if you would like to be notified when I go live next. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the clip, and we'll see you guys in the next video. The characteristics of an A-plus model are going to be different for each person. They should be what you follow when you're taking a trade. So when I say an A-plus setup, an A-plus trade, I'm saying that hey, this idea that I'm thinking of right now has all the characteristics that I personally want to see happen to give me the green light to take a trade. Some people use VWAP. Some people use the moving average. Some people are looking for breakouts and breakdowns. Some people are looking for change in state of deliveries like we have right here. Right? We have a change in state of delivery that I said I wanted to see happen, and if we did that, we may see price move lower. Well, you can use that characteristic as part of the criteria to formulate your own A-plus model. And you literally are putting a checklist together to determine these are the things that I'm looking for to determine that this is an A-plus setup. Let's talk about what I look for my characteristics, okay? I trade the inversion model and I trade breakers. Those are the two primary models or entry techniques that I trade. Every time I want to get into a trade, I'm not just clicking the button. I'm waiting for my model to show up that says, now's the time to get in. And those models have a list of criteria. Now, not all the time does all of that criteria show up. So if that criteria doesn't always show up, that now changes it from a A-plus model, meaning I didn't get everything, but I just got about all of it, but I like the way the chart looks and this feels good. So even though it's not an A-plus, this is a B-plus, I'm still willing to take it because it has some of the characteristics of the model for me to go short, for me to go long. And that is what I'm using to determine if I'm going to take those trades. I was really excited about this trade for my small account challenge right here because we made a high, low, higher high, and then we broke lower right here. Well, this is a breaker. So ding, 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 there's one of my models. I may want to take this breaker to the downside. If I'm going to take this breaker to the downside, I'm looking for other characteristics in the charts to help determine if this is going to be an A-plus type of trade. Now, this was not an A-plus setup. Why? Because I really would have wanted it to hit this level right here. This was the previous day high. And I always want my trades to hit a higher time frame key level to add to that list of check boxes that I'm looking to mark to determine if it's going to be an A trade, an A minus, A plus, B plus type setup. Well, this one didn't actually give that. However, I liked the way price was forming. We came up to all of this consolidation here and we kind of puttered out. And then we had an aggressive move the other direction right here. Then what did it do? It gave me a 5-minute change in state of delivery. You can see these series of up close candles right here. If I draw this line out from this point right here, this is my 5-minute change in state of delivery. I wanted to see a 5-minute candle close below this level right here. And it does at 11:25. Because it closed below 11:25 and then came back up into that now 5-minute order block right here at 11:35, I'm now looking for an entry. I'm now excited to take a trade because it met multiple pieces of my criteria. I have a breaker outline. I have a 5-minute change in state of delivery right here. And then the last criteria is time. The criteria of time is in the form of macros. Macros are a period of time. In this case, what time is this? This is 11:45, which is 15 minutes before noon. And I like to take all my trades between the last 15 minutes and the first 15 minutes of the hour. And when we see price come up into those time periods, and I see all of the other check boxes on the chart that says, hey, Tyler, pay attention, this looks interesting. When time also matches, I get excited. On this example, I took a short right around here, right around 11:49. I went short because I had the 5-minute change in state of delivery. I had the breaker. I had time aligning with that, but I did not have the higher time frame confirmation that says we're going to roll over. So this was not an A+ trade. But because I've seen stuff happen like this before and I've been on the charts that long, I felt confident. I felt so confident that on my small account challenge, I doubled my size and shrunk my stop loss to only 5 handles. It worked out. Now, could it have stopped me out? Absolutely. So I took this trade and it wasn't an A+ setup. It was an A because it didn't check off everything on my list that I wanted. Now that's the breaker model that has a series of things that I want to see to tell me if it's going to be an A+. Well, there's also another model called the inversion model. And the inversion model is when you see price break through and not find support at a fair value gap. So we have a fair value gap right here. Normally when we see a fair value gap, I want to see price find support here and then move higher. But we don't. We actually close below this fair value gap on this candle at 10:59. Now at 10:59, that's also another macro period. So what do I have here? I have my entry model. I have the time that's aligning, check. For my inversion model, I only want to have one fair value gap, typically in a price leg or a very obvious fair value gap. So check, that's another check on my list of things I'm looking for this particular model. I'm also looking for that higher time frame key level, no check. I didn't get that on this example, right? Just like we didn't get that on the breaker. But even though we didn't get it, I had the inversion. I had an aggressive displacement lower, which is another characteristic or check I'm looking for in price for the inversion. I'm also looking for a very obvious swing low, which we have a swing low right here. And so I can now take my entry at the close of this and set my stop at the high of the inversion fair value gap and wait. If we don't have a candle close above this, then this trade is still valid. Set my target at the low, and we get it here on the 11:16 candle. But some people will call that head and shoulders, but I'm using different characteristics, not just patterns, to determine if I'm going to take a trade or not. And those are part of that checklist that determine if a trade is an A+ setup or not. I see some of the characteristics of my model, but I don't see everything, so it's not a guaranteed entry that I'm going to take the trade no matter what, but I'm willing to take the risk based on my history with the charts. The more time you spend in front of your charts, the better you will become at recognizing when a trade is worth the risk. I have a list of criteria for my 930 model, which I won't be sharing here, but when I see that criteria, I take the trade. If I don't see that criteria, I don't take the trade. So that's how I determine if a trade is an A+, or whatnot. You, as a trader, need to determine what those lists of criteria that you want to see in a trade to determine if you're going to take it or not. Now, you can go to different channels, you can go to different content creators, find out what they use. You need to then go back test it and actually see it show up in the charts. If you take somebody else's criteria and you only use their criteria, it's never going to become your own. You have to take their criteria and back test it. You have to take their criteria and put it through the ringer so it can now become yours. You may not change anything to their model. You may not change any of the criteria to that model, but it needs to become yours. And the way it becomes yours is by you putting it through the ringer yourself. You can't take somebody else's model and then start throwing money behind it. You'll lose money, I promise you.